Diane in Denmark here, rah rah rah. Happy Tuesday morning, I hope you're fine and well. We had a wee bit of rain during the night, but I'm just looking out the window behind you. It's kind of clearing now, it's a really fresh morning here in Denmark. So what are we going to do today? It's Tuesday, which is Plan and Play Date in Flylady Land. If you want to know about the daily focus, we've talked about it 100 times before. I'm not going to talk about it today, but if you go to, if I point up here, if you press on the screen, the Flylady refresher videos will come up and it's all explained there. Anyway, what I do want to do today is another Q&A, question answer time, and they're all in a playlist, and I think we must be up to about, I don't know, 25 of them by now. This is where I answer questions that have come up on Instagram or on YouTube, and just to go over the ground rules again, I can only answer questions that are asked in a public forum. I have a policy of not responding to direct messages. It's for me to set my boundaries and also for my privacy and safety. I can't go answering those. I get hundreds of comments on, you know, whatever yesterday's video was, plus all the other videos which I've made, which must be, I think we're up at something like 500, 600, 700. So I'll answer questions which kind of come up regularly, and a lot of you are asking. So I hope you'll bear over with me with that. And also, I don't have I'm not going to be getting a post office box address. It's really sweet that you want to, you know, send me a gift or something. As I've said before, and I would really like it if, you know, if you're wanting to send me a gift, you know, gift something to a neighbour or a friend. I really can't accept anything like that. Anyway, so now we've got the ground rules ready. Let's dive in there. Let me see, let me just grab, this is one, an interesting one that came up on, it comes up regularly, and there was a question on Instagram at the weekend. One of my friends actually on Instagram, and she was going through family mementos. I won't go into the details here, and you know, what to keep and what not to keep, especially the sentimental things. Well, when it comes to like children's mementos, you know, where the kids, they have, I don't know, things like, I mean, I've still got things like my brownie badges, and maybe they've got a swimming certificate or drawings that they bring home. What we have always done, what I've done in the past, in the beginning, I used to have like different folders of kids' artwork, but I realized quite quickly that the folder system, that didn't work, because you've got all these little kind of bits and bobs that suddenly are coming into the mix. So what we have is a box, you know, and you can use like a cardboard box, a plastic box. Don't go thinking, oh, now I need to go and buy something. Use what you have at the moment. Just find an old box or bag that you've maybe decluttered and is ready to be used for something else. And what I do is, you know, when I've got things like that from the kids, I'm like, oh, you know, and I'm one of the world's worst for thinking, oh, I should hold on to it, you know. I just pop them in the box. I've got one for my son, one for my daughter. My husband, he doesn't really hang on to anything. He's much better at that. And I also have one for my old music memorabilia, and I have things for like invitation songs and games from parties. So I just pop them in there. I don't worry about it. I don't worry about thinking, oh, should I hold on to it or not? And from time to time, you know, if I'm doing a declutter in the basement, I'll go through them. As long as the box is not overflowing, it's allowed to be in the box. And often when I go back to the box, I'll look through it and I'll think, why have I been holding on to every single school jotter that the kids have? I mean, my kids, they've had that same box since they were small, since the start of Flylady system. My son was 6 when I found Flylady, and he's now 20, so there you go. So we've been using the same box, and it's really helpful because it takes that pressure off and says, you know what, you don't need to deal with it right now, just pop it in the box. And often just with that, having a wee bit of distance from the item, and then being able to see it a bit later and say, you know what, it's all right, for example, for me to hold on to their very first school jotters, but I don't have to hold on to every single year. So do you see how that works? It's just putting something in a box, wherever it is, and giving yourself a bit of distance. It's the same when we do the decluttering. I've said to you before, you don't need to, get rid of things immediately. If you're not sure about it, put it in a box and then mark on the box, and especially mark in your calendar, say for like 2 months from now, go and check box A, which is in the basement, and go through it, because often it's just having that bit of hindsight. It's like, oh yeah, I don't need to hold on to it. So anyway, that was on dealing with sentimental stuff. And the other thing, because somebody else was asking about something to do with stuff she'd got from her granny. It's the same again. You don't need to keep everything that belonged to your granny just because. And also, if you keep the stuff from your granny, maybe you can display it. Maybe it can, be displayed somewhere in your house if you actually, appreciate it. You don't have to hold on to every single thing. But here's my granny stuff today. Now, this is my granny's favourite. This is my granny's favourite colour, Kelly green. So I'm channeling my granny today. My granny was a power woman. I think she was type 3 in Dressing Your Truth. And these are my granny's crystals. And you'll often see me wearing my granny's crystals. Now, they're not expensive. They weren't, my granny wasn't a rich woman. It wasn't a rich family. But I wear my granny's crystals and enjoy wearing them. This is actually my granny's engagement ring, which I actually had to have redone with more gold, because in those days they didn't have any money and it was kind of breaking up. So today I'm wearing my granny's crystals. So use these things. The cups that Vibeke and Helena use when we're down for our skinny dip at the sea. We've got Vibike's mum's mismatched china cups, and we use them and enjoy them. So you don't need to keep everything, but what you do keep, just enjoy it. So that was on that, and then on to another one. Okay, here's a personal question that comes in very often. Which languages do I speak? Well, I am from Scotland, so obviously English. And when I was at school, I learnt French and German. And also when I went to college, university, it was French and German. And then I moved to Luxembourg to work at the European Court of Justice for the British judge at the European Court. And there I started learning Italian, and I'd already learnt a bit of Spanish. But these are not languages that I use on a daily basis now. The working language of the Court of Justice, it was French, so I worked in French for 10 days, for 10 years, shared an office with Gabi and Nathalie, and Christelle. She used to work there for that. So we chatted all day long in French. That was our working language. And then I also learned Dutch, and then after that, I met my husband, and then started learning Danish. And then we moved here, and my life here is in Danish. All my friends are Danish, or I've got a few friends that I speak English with. And what more? Oh yeah, and then we've got the summer house in Sweden, which is at an hour's drive from here. And I started learning Swedish several years ago, and I watch Swedish TV. But the languages that I use on a daily basis, I speak English with the kids. My husband speaks Danish with our kids. And when we're sitting having dinner, my husband will say something in Danish and the kids will answer, and then I'll say something in English and they'll answer in English. So it's kind of like, ping pong, table tennis with the languages in our family. But that's how it works for us. And when I met my husband, we met in English. So we always speak English together. But if there's a third person in the mix, if we're out with friends, then we always obviously speak Danish. So I speak on a daily basis. I'm speaking English, Danish, and then watch a lot of Swedish television, or if we're over in Sweden, and then French if I'm talking to some old French friend. So that was that. Oh, a question that came up yesterday, because we were in Flylady Zone 5. When I say it, I always say it in French just because we kind of mix up things in our family. Somebody asked about the living room, whether I have a habit of moving around furniture, and rearranging stuff. Now, this is a question that has come up a few times. I used to be like that, and if you watch my old videos, you'll see that, I kind of moved around the piano, and then, you know, the big chest of drawers that we have from my dearly departed Danish father-in-law. That's kind of been moved around a bit. But I have to say that for the last 3 years, I think it is, I've really actually, I felt really good about the arrangement that we have in the living room. And I've noticed that the more and more I've kind of got control over things, you know, it's not chaotic in my head, you know, now that I'm doing I've been doing the Flylady system for so many years. I actually don't feel the need to do that now. I'm in a good place with it. I think a lot of the thing with me before with moving things around was trying to kind of control things. You know, things going on around me were out of control, so I wanted to control things, and that was part of that. I'm not sure, but what I do like to do is, if you've ever seen my shiny sink pictures on Instagram, I like to have my, you know, cut a little flower from the garden or put a little decoration there. So I do have seasonal decorations, but that's really around the sink. That's where I get to have, you know, to kind of play every day and make it look different. It's just nice for me when I'm standing at the sink doing the dishes, and you'll see that on Instagram on my shiny sink pictures. Oh yeah, and the other thing was she asked about how often do I change out cushion covers and things like that. And I'm really happy with the arrangement that we have now. And if you do the Dressing Your Truth system, you know about, you know, the different energies and different colours and whatever. Scandinavian style is very much a kind of type 2 colours. Everything's kind of soft. We've also, you know, we use a lot of greys, soft white, and also a lot of natural decorations. And that's what I find best works in the living room for us. It's just a nice relaxing place. But again, I'll sometimes have some seasonal decorations in there, different candles, different flowers. So that's how I change things up. I don't go moving the furniture anymore. And my husband's really happy about that, because he would come home and like, where do I sit now? You know, everything can be moved around. Right, on to the next question. Let me see. Oh, okay, we'll do a couple more. Oh yeah, this is one that comes up a lot. How do I stay so motivated, and am I really this happy all the time? Because I get this question a lot. Well, the motivation, it's a combination of being, I think, knowing what drags me down and knowing what keeps me going. I know that if I don't kind of have my little daily routines, and we're not just talking about, you know, putting on a load of laundry or whatever, but that kind of self-care thing of actually making sure that I listen to some good music. You know, music is a great motivator for me. I've talked about this many times. I've got a whole playlist on music that I like, and books and TV and all that. I know that if I don't have a kind of set routine, obviously with some leeway, to kind of get me through the day, I can kind of go into that backwards thing of not wanting to do anything. And I do have periods like that. I've told you that before, especially when we come into the winter season in Denmark. We have as little as 6 hours of daylight per day, and that's been really tough. But I know now that it's a great motivator for me just to keep going with those routines, because they really pull me through things. And once I've kind of got that momentum going, it's really easy to kind of go up and up and up. And conversely, spiral down if I'm not doing it. So the routines have been key for me. I've mentioned many times we had serious illness in the family, and that's when I really was clinging on to the routines, because again, I felt, you know, when everything else was spiraling out of control, the routines brought back some kind of control, that I had control of things. And also, you know, if you're going through grief, you know, when my dad died, it's something, you know, you're just putting one foot in front of the other, and the routines can be very soothing. They can just help you to pull through, because, you know, you're dealing with heavy stuff, but you've still got to make sure that you feed yourself, that you're getting dressed, you're you know, dealing with your personal hygiene. So routines can be very soothing in that way, especially right now if you are going through lockdown. It's, you know, you may think, well, I'm at home and nobody's going to see me, and you know, I hear that all the time. For me, you see, I get dressed as I do, whether I'm going out of the house or whether I'm working at home or whether I'm working in the garden. I've always got a wee bit of lipstick on. So the routines are very, very helpful to me for that. Also, I know that if I'm going through, I get worried about things, and I don't share everything that's going on, in our family. But I can have down days as well. But I know that I don't have to be sad, or think about these things the whole day. It doesn't have to take over my whole day, and that's also why the routines are good at that. That I can kind of, okay, I'll get that done, and before I know it, I've started moving again. But I do have an optimistic nature, and I have to tell you a funny story that when we went to the World Swimming Championships, remember I was taking part in the World Swimming Championships, I should say Winter Swimming Championships. I'm not a swimmer, I'm a winter swimmer, ice swimmer, and a winter bather. And we were taking part in the Winter Swimming World Championships, which were being held in Slovenia this year in February. And I went there with my friends, Sue, Victoria, Lena, Bettina, and Victoria, did I say that? And Kate, there we are, got them all, and me. Anyway, we shared this, we were sharing a house for the week that we were there, and we had fantastic fun. I've got a whole video about it if you want to see Lena and Victoria and Kate and Bettina and Sue. It's on the video there. It's on my health and exercise playlist. Anyway, we're sharing this house for the week, and it was a lot of fun, as you can imagine, with all the women there, and we were all excited about swimming, and Sue won medals, and it was all very exciting. Anyway, we were sharing, bathrooms. There were 2 bathrooms in the place, and Victoria and I, we were sharing one of the bathrooms. And Victoria, she's so sweet. She's a type 2 in the Dressing Your Truth system. So, type 2 people, like my bestie Rebecca, they are the sweetest people in the world. Anyway, Victoria said to me, "Gosh, Diane, we've known each other for years," and she said, "but I haven't known you that well. We know each other from the ladies group that we're both a member of, and because of Sue." And Victoria said, "It's been a real eye-opener these last couple of days to really get to know you better, because," she said, "Diane, I always thought, gosh, I'm sure Diane can't be that happy all the time." And she said, "You know what? You really are happy all the time." And I said to her, "Well, yeah, that's just the way I am. I'm an optimistic person." Though they also realised that when we were all together, the 6 of us in that house for the week, that we all have different ways of doing things, and we've all got different energies. I try not to go too much into the Dressing Your Truth stuff, but a lot of them are type 3s and full on, and going from morning to evening. And I'm when I'm going, I'm like full on, but I also need to withdraw and be completely in my little bubble for a while. So quite often, we'd have lots of things going on. We were together 24 hours a day, but then I would say, okay, I'm going to go into my bedroom, and I'd take a nap or listen to my music and do my own stuff. And then when I was ready to come back to the crowd again, the all 6 of us, I was ready to be full on again. So I'm kind of very on and off, but that's because I'm a type 1, connect, disconnect. So anyway, where are we at now? Let me see, is there any more? Let me just check if there's any more. I get a lot of questions about doing my nails. I also get a lot of questions about people asking how I colour my hair and the highlights. Okay, for the final time, it's grey. I've got grey tinsel here coming in. There we go. So I haven't coloured or highlighted my hair for about 10 years. I'm very, very low maintenance. I don't get any, I never get my nails done at a salon. I never get any facial stuff done at a beauty parlour. The only thing I do get is I get my hair cut regularly, though not so regular, of course, because of lockdown. But the hairdressers have just reopened here in Denmark, and I've got an appointment for next week, so I will be able to get my hair cut again. But no colouring or highlighting, and I love the grey. If you don't like your grey, or it comes in a different way, that's good, but I've got a real halo, as we call, of grey at the back, and because my hair is cut into layers, you can see it better, and I like it. It does look like kind of highlights, but it's grey highlights. Anyway, and on the nails, I've always done my own nails also because I hate people touching like my nails, especially my feet. I can't imagine. And I used to go and get my feet done occasionally because I had problems with some nails that needed done by a professional, but that is my worst nightmare. If you want to torture me, touch my feet. So I've always done my own toenails and feet, and toenails and fingernails. And I have a wee basket of collection of nail varnishes. Most of these I get at clothes swap parties. There we go, I've got some fun colours, but these kind of more weird colours, like the yellow and the blue, I tend to just put them on my toenails, because I find that I prefer just to have, I've discovered that I like kind of two colours. I either go for like pinky ones, pinky dinky, because I wear a lot of pink, or any of these kind of corally colours, because they kind of work whether I'm wearing red or whether I'm wearing green, or any kind of colour I'm wearing. And I've got a red one that I wear a lot. And what I normally do is I change the colour every, I don't know, 3 or 4 days when it's beginning to chip off. And if I can get some, what I do is I just take off the nail varnish, and then I put on one coat, and usually one coat, you know, depending on the brand. I really like Rimmel and Gosh. If I'm buying ones, it's normally Rimmel or Gosh. And I just put on one coat, and then I maybe just put on a second coat just at the very tips, you know, the bits that tend to get chips. And that's all I do, that is it. And quite often I do it in the morning, just before I'm you know, making a video here, because I'm sitting here for 20 minutes. I may as well let my fingers dry while I'm doing it. And that is it, so no hocus pocus. I just get on and do it, and as I said, I change them probably every 4, sometimes it can go 5 days. I don't do a base coat, I don't do a top coat. Occasionally I do have one of those top coat things, but normally I don't bother with it. So anyway, I'm going to get going because it is Tuesday and the sun is coming out. Hurry, 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 the sun has got his hat on. So I shall see you tomorrow for something, probably scarf tying, who knows. So anyway, live long and prosper. May the Danish hoogie be with you, and I'll send you on your merry way on this fabulous Tuesday, terrific Tuesday. With that, rap. Bye for now.